Going back to Hugh Hefner for a moment,
Yes.
do you think with what he was doing, and I'm going to talk about just something, when you're growing up as a kid, this is in the 60s or something like that,
Right.
the first time you see a Playboy magazine,
Right.
what was there was nothing like what is shown today.
Right.
And I guess the thing that I'm wondering is, did Hugh Hefner envision things getting this perverse? I mean, I know he had a Playboy lifestyle, and so the swinger life, whatever you want to call it back
Right.
then, but today,
Yeah.
the perversion is at a level that is
I'm
unheard.
not a real expert on Hefner. Actually, Dr. Judith Reisman, who's the #1 expert on Kinsey in the world, she wrote a book called Soft Porn Plays Hardball. And she goes into great depth about Kinsey and his life and what he believed in. So that would definitely be something. Hugh Hefner, obviously, he said that Kinsey was the researcher and he was the pamphleteer. So Kinsey was in the 1950s going into all of the colleges. He was going into state legislators, actually into governments all over the world, testifying, saying to everyone, we need to loosen all of our sex laws because, man is animal. We are sexual beings. That rape is a myth. That women really enjoy the rape. That saying no is really false. That they really want it, and that children are sexual from birth. So predators shouldn't be put to death or put in prison for a long period of time, but rather they should be put out on the street and therapeutically managed. So that all came from him. But as I said, with Hugh Hefner, what he did then was he was going to the college males with Playboy and convincing men, instead of being protectors and providers, to be playboys, and encouraging the girls obviously to be playmates, or for women to be looked at, as one speaker said today, a piece of meat. So
how do you spell Judith Reisman's name for anybody who wants to look?
Okay, Judith, it's Reisman. And if you just Google Judith Reisman and Kinsey, you get a lot of information. She has a website as well. She's written many books. Her most recent one was Sexual Sabotage. So she's done some excellent research on Kinsey.
Okay. The issue about, I can't get over this one thing, but you said morality is a national security issue.
Well, again, if we look and I'm Christian, so if we look to Scripture, what we see is, how did the Israelites mess up? It was usually through sexual immorality.
Right.
So America is the most successful nation in the world, and not to say that we are any greater because we're all sinners, but we had a lot of freedom. And the reason we have a lot of freedom, or had a lot of freedom, is because our laws were based on the Bible. And so even if you're not a Christian, you want to live in a Christian nation, because that's where you can have a lot of freedom. And so there was a plan to shift our nation away from God and towards socialism, communism. And so where do you aim the attack? Well, you aim it at men, because they're the protectors and the leaders in the family. So you aim it at men. So pornography became legal in the 1950s. You aim it at marriage. It wasn't same-sex marriage that really defeated marriage in America.
Right.
It goes back to the legalization of fornication, and then eventually no-fault divorce. Because once fornication was legalized and adultery is legalized, then we should make it much more loosey-goosey to get in and out of marriages. And then thirdly, we need to aim the attack at children. We need to raise up a generation that believes they're sexual beings from birth, and that is what you are seeing today. Sex education in the 1960s was all about, let's just make sure the kids know they're sexual beings, let's take them to the act in the genitals over and over again, and then if anything happens, make sure they do safe sex. So the myth, which there is no safe sex, is condoms, and then we have the birth control and abortions. That was our generation, actually, that got that kind of sex education. But today, children are now being encouraged to change their sex, and to experiment with the LGBT lifestyle. Even like we talked about in California, they're actually teaching that pedophilia is just another sexual orientation that a kid could choose if they want. So it's totally off the rails.